Good evening and welcome to the program Service to Humanity, a program designed to update you on the activities of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. I am your anchor, Hafsat Mustafa Hadija. This episode of the program will contain reports of news events from the ministry, while also bringing you details of a 3-day workshop held to review the cost of feeding for the National Homegrown School Feeding Program in Abuja. Other events involving agencies under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs as they fulfill their mandates are contained in the program. Do sit back as I take you through the various segments of the program. I'll be back shortly.
The Empower program is key to helping young Nigerians acquire and develop.
The federal government of Nigeria remains committed to including and protecting persons with disabilities to guarantee that no one is left behind.
I see that we are going through challenging times, and I see this woman running all about the country trying to help our people, because this lady is doing a very good job for our country.
Thank you. Thank you for all what they have been doing for us.
We begin this episode with news updates from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. In our lineup, Speaker of the House of Representatives assure Nigerians of the quick passage of the NCIP bill. Stay tuned for details of these and more in our management diary. Don't go away.
The federal government has reiterated its commitment to the implementation of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction of 2015 to 2021. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, made this known at the COP26 side event and panel discussion on Nigeria's climate change adoption efforts in humanitarian and disaster risk reduction contexts held in Glasgow, Scotland on Monday. The Sendai Framework focuses on the adoption of measures which address the 3 dimensions of disaster risk: exposure to hazards, vulnerability and capacity, and hazards characteristics, in order to prevent the creation of new risks and increase resilience. Sadia further said, in collaboration with all necessary stakeholders, the ministry has developed a national flood emergency preparedness and response plan. The purpose of the plan, she said, is to provide relevant information and outline response arrangements in place for coordinated inter-ministerial multi-agency response to major flood incidents. The minister further said a lot of emphasis has been placed on risk reduction as well as prevention and mitigation strategies, which once operationalized will enable local communities to be more involved in flood management. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, has assured Nigerians of the 9th Assembly's resolve to expedite action by transmitting the bill which seeks to provide legal framework for the establishment of national social investment programs to President Muhammadu Buhari for assent. The Speaker gave the assurance at the public hearing on the bill, which also seeks to assist and empower the poor and vulnerable across the country. The Speaker also called for the need for continuity and accountability in the implementation of the social investment programs by relevant agencies and building social safety nets for the less privileged. The Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Bashir Noura Al-Ghali, in his presentation, said the NSIPs was a response by the President Muhammadu Buhari to help the vulnerable, as it has recorded very great achievements, stressing that there was need to sustain it with a legal framework in form of a bill.
Across the 6 geopolitical zones,
Use this money for what it is meant for, graciously to take care of their family.
in 36 states and the FCT. over 6.4 million of Nigerians poorest of the poor in about 1.3 million households receive conditional cash transfers of 5,000 naira monthly under the Household Upliftment Program of the federal government. Their joy knows no bound.
And the government very well because they did well for us.
It helped me to do any other thing, my family.
Reducing absolute poverty, promoting shared prosperity through the Conditional Cash Transfer Initiative. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in service to humanity.
You're watching Service to Humanity. The National Homegrown School Feeding Program has been described as a game changer. Pupils are assured of one nourishing meal per day even as the economy gets a boost with job creation for farmers and cooks. But with the recent rise in food prices and the inflation in the economy, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs recently organized a 3-day workshop to review the cost of feeding on the program. This is to help it better deliver on its mandate. What were the issues discussed? How were they addressed? Let's take details from the workshop.
This enumeration alone has demonstrated a lot to us.
The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development on 2nd November 2021 organized a 2-day workshop in Abuja for the review of the cost of feeding on the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. The workshop was to gather and collate input from various stakeholders, industry experts on the cost of feeding on the program.
We have been organizing this for a long time and we're happy that it's finally seeing the light of the day. Everybody knows that the 17 naira is just not enough, and what the effort that we put into this activity would make or break the effort that the ministry is making towards getting an increment in the feeding cost. So please, let's continue to put in all our best.
Its objectives include deliberate on realistic cost of a meal per child based on available evidence, recommend an appropriate amount of a meal per child for the feeding program, recommend possible alternative funding sources for the program. The program had in attendance state focal persons, both on ground and virtually, program managers, state nutritionists, amongst other stakeholders. Speaking at the event, the NSIP's National Coordinator, Engineer Umar Binder, in his Keystone address urged everyone involved to be truthful and realistic in their submissions, having it in mind that the program caters for everyone across state, religion and political divides.
This is my view. So for us here, yes, we're implementing the federal government project, but remember, it did not say federal social investment program. It says national. And that national belief is the belief that every one of us is involved. Yes, I'm looking forward to your report, your objective report, and but be rest assured that at every level you will be asked questions.
The workshop had paper presentations from different stakeholders in the Homegrown School Feeding Program, like the World Food Program, National Bureau of Statistics, Ministry of Health, etc. Some of the topics discussed include economic opportunities on the NHGSFP, the supply chain in the school feeding program, menus and menu designed on the NHGSFP, modern methods of costing meals, etc. The representative from the World Food Program presented a paper on how to assess the cost of the school feeding program and different ways of funding the school program.
Will inform the optimal design of the program, such as whether decentralized implementation is better or centralized implementation is better, the different types of modalities that should be used, the different food baskets that can be used. And how it informs this design is by doing a comparison, for instance, of school feeding efficiency metrics, such as the cost per nutritional value delivered, the cost per beneficiary, the value transferred per beneficiary. So we'll be able to make these types of comparisons by using a standardized model of determining the cost of a school feeding program.
The representative from the Nutrition Society of Nigeria led a discussion on strategies for cost management, case for nutritionally sensitive local menus.
Well, the topic strategies for cost management in case for nutritionally sensitive local menu. The three key points here are the cost, the local menu, and the nutrients. When we are talking about school feeding, we use there is need to use the locally available food, and the scratch here, the cooks or the nutritionist or the state coordinator have to liaise with the local farmers. They have to liaise with the local farmers on the day and the market days, and also when and these nutrients are being available. Then the cooks also have to be trained on how these food are being prepared. As my sister was saying, there is need for a caterer. Well, the nutritionist is her duty to train the cooks in every state on how these food are being made and how cheap and available are these foods.
There was another paper presentation on inflation and rising food prices by Mr. Tijani of the National Bureau of Statistics.
So the data started with national. At national, we picked egg as an example. Agric egg. So agric egg, the unit of measurement that we used is 1 dozen. And then 1 dozen, and the average price for egg, 1 dozen, was found to be 556.47 naira. And then year on year. What I mean by year and year, if you want to measure 2017 and 2018, then that's year on year. And if you want to measure maybe June and July, that is month and month. So year on year is found to be an increase of 17.69%. Also month on month, the month on month is that of June and July, is found to be 2.76%. And also, the lowest price in that month on month happened to be 406.92 naira, and that was found in Borno State. And the highest price in the country was found in Bayelsa, which was 731.38 naira for 1 dozen of agric eggs.
Other sessions continued with interactions, suggestions, recommendations, questions and answers. Speaking in an interview after the workshop, Adaku Ekpo of the World Food Programme said, in collaboration with some partners, the program has developed a plus school menu tool that will optimize cost, nutrition and local production. It will also make the sourcing of food prices based on what is available in the community.
So, WFP, in collaboration with partners, developed the school menus, plus school menus tool to optimize for costs, to optimize for nutrition, and to optimize for local production. What all of that means is that we're trying to ensure that there's a cost-efficient, nutritious way to provide school meals to children. We want to make sure that the menus in each state in Nigeria where the school feeding program is being implemented, we're providing nutritious meals, and we're sourcing from farmers in the communities, and we are providing, the menus are cost efficient.
Participants lauded the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs for this review workshop.
This workshop couldn't have come at any other time. This is the right time to review the cost of feeding the children and to see what we can do. We also looked at the other sources of sponsoring this program to sustain it. And we are all going home with the fact that we are going to look at the cost of food in the market, a pilot study, get the cost of food in the market, put it into the system with World Food Program, and see the cost of meal it will give us.
This review program is a very good program, and I must commend the Ministry of Humanitarian for doing this program, and we're really grateful to them. We really hope we will have the desired result of getting more to do this feeding, because this is 1 meal per day that you find out that a lot of children look forward to. These are the kind of meals that you find out that in the rural areas they are so excited to have, and the nutritional value is second to none. So we really appreciate what the federal government is doing.
As the ministry and other stakeholders continue to work at improved efficiency of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, the enumeration exercise to help ascertain the number of school children being fed amongst other variables is being concluded. LEA Apple is one of the schools benefiting from the Homegrown School Feeding Program, and which was recently visited by a team of enumerators from the ministry. Yahuza Silarabo of the National Youth Service Corps speaks on the process of capturing details of pupils and the biometric capturing.
Here we normally we are being assigned to various LEA within the AMAC. Then we go to various LEA. Then we contact the head teachers, where there are the form for head teacher, school rep, school info, SBM form, cook form. Then there is a section for the pupils where we'll capture, take their picture, take that on print, and then we'll scan their form. That's what we have been doing to various schools.
The head teacher of the school, while speaking on the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, says it has been instrumental in reducing the number of out-of-school children in the community.
The program is essential, very, very important. It helps pupils. It's enticement. It is a pull factor for pupils to come to school, and there was a high enrollment. This time that there was no this feeding, in fact, the enrollment is so poor. You can go to class 1 and see what is happening. We used to have a record of over 500 pupils in the school, but as it stands now, not more than 300 and some fraction. So we want to appeal to the government to put more synergy, encouragement, to at least continue the program so that it should be a sustainable program.
Mrs. Monica Daniel, a teacher in the school, also speaks on the impact of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program on school children.
The school feeding program, it really helps children, because there are some children they will not eat before coming to school. So in that process, when they bring their food, it will help them so that they will get their breakfast from there, and it really helps. Most children, sometimes you see they will be complaining, stomach, this thing and all this, but that time they were not complaining of, I'm sick, I'm this and that, too much of sleeping because of hunger. That one is not more there again.
The National Homegrown School Feeding Program started in 2016. So far, over 9 million pupils are being fed by over 100,000 cooks and food vendors nationwide.
Glad to know you're still here. We will continue on the impact of the NEDC in the Northeast. The NEDC is one of the agencies under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, with its core mandate to coordinate interventions towards rebuilding the northeastern state of Nigeria ravaged by insurgency. It recently held a 5-day capacity building for teachers of basic education in Borno State. Let's take highlights from that event in our next segment.
The Northeast Development Commission recently organized a 5-day workshop for basic education teachers in Borno State. The training is in line with the Commission's mandate of revitalizing basic education through addressing acute education needs and laying a foundation to rebuild and transform education system in the Northeast. In her opening remarks, Hajia Fati Chiroma, Head of Education of the NEDC, said teachers' training is a critical component in achieving the NEDC mandate. Fatima Chiroma said the objective of the training is to expose participants to skills in their various subjects so as to improve and to impact positive performance of students. Also speaking at the event, the Managing Director, NEDC, Mohammed Al-Ghali, said the NEDC was created to restore means of livelihood in the Northeast following the insurgency. He further said education is critical in the complete recovery, and that is why the NEDC is bringing programs that will help in gravitation and reconstruction of destroyed schools and building the capacity of teachers.
Education is critical to complete recovery of the Northeast region in the long term. To achieve this requires that we invest in critical educational infrastructure and program much anticipated efforts. This includes rehabilitation and reconstruction of destroyed schools, teachers' capacity building, and other interventions that are probable of rising all the negative indices associated with the Northeast. What we are saying here is, as we are doing this training, we are also looking at what we can do to improve the infrastructure. As we all know, during the 10 years of the LBS past, most of this infrastructure has been destroyed. So in our program, we are very mindful to ensure that the schools are built properly and has been provided so that even if you are trained here and go back, you have the means to impact what you are learning here. And we have a lot of programs towards that. And very soon, in some activities, we have decided to first of all see if we can choose one primary school in each local government in Northeast. And so we have about 100 local government in Northeast and about 27 in Pampo State. So that at least we can create one primary school in each local government. 26. And then we have facilities and train the teachers so that even if you have facilities and you don't have the teachers, work is zero. Teacher is the main ingredient of whatever education we need.
Al-Ghali further said the NEDC is developing a master plan for the Northeast in which the education sector is going to play a major role.
Please, participants should remain seated. Thank you, sirs.
On this note, we end the program. Join me again same time next week for another interesting episode of the program Service to Humanity. Keep a date with us and stay safe.